I'm Matt Quackenbush. I am the Director of Education and Training for First Watch Wellness. Today we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite topic, parenting. Hooray! Parenting's so hard, and it's really hard to figure out what works, what doesn't. There's a bajillion books all over the place. One of the most important things to be able to do when you're parenting is recognize I'm out of my window of tolerance zone, right? The concept here is that when I am dysregulated and in that red zone, hyperarousal, that I need to get back in. My job as a parent is to recognize when I'm no longer regulated. When I'm out of that green zone, when you watch the window of tolerance, you'll learn there's a green zone. When I'm in that green zone, I'm chill, I'm regulated, I'm calm. More than anything, I'm logical. And the part of my brain that is logical is active. When I'm out of that zone, that part of my brain is inactive and I'm emotional. And when I'm emotionally driven, I'm going to parent differently. When I'm emotionally driven, I'm going to husband differently. I'm going to spouse differently. And that makes a big difference. So my job is to recognize when I am dysregulated and get myself back into that zone of regulation before I engage in any parenting. That's a really big ask. Really big ask, because a lot of the time your kids they're going to take you out of that zone. They're going to make you angry. And your job, my job in that moment is to recognize I'm not regulated. Now is not the time. I'm not going to yell. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to come back and I'm going to use my logic brain to do this parenting thing rather than my emotional brain. If I can keep that in my head and keep myself regulated and calm, my kid's going to pick up on that and they're going to also regulate themselves. I have found through my wife, she brought to me this book years ago called Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy. Her theory is that inside of these kids is goodness. That's why it's called Good Inside. And when you see your kids as good inside, rather than these little turds trying to get away with stuff, it changes how you interact with your kids. Her whole philosophy is very similar to the philosophy that we've used at First Watch since its inception, which is that our intention is good. And what we want to do, most people, what we want to do is be good. That is also true of children. A lot of times, though, when we're parenting, we look at our kids and we go, that little stinker, he's trying to get away with something. And that changes my mentality, and really changes my nervous system activity in relation to the child. Inside of them is this little beautiful human being who just wants to get their needs met. They're not trying to get away with stuff. They want to connect with me. But there's so many needs that these kids need to meet, and our job is to figure out what that looks like. One of the most effective tools that we found that comes out of this book, Good Inside, that helps us, my wife and I, to parent better is this tool called Most Generous Interpretation, or MGI. The idea is that if I'm seeing my child as good inside, I'm not going to see him as being difficult. I'm going to look for and find the most generous interpretation of why they're doing what they're doing, the MGI. So what we're trying to do is connect on an emotional, empathetic level with these kids, and we're still holding boundaries. This is not gentle parenting. This is boundaried parenting that has a very generous interpretation of why they're doing what they're doing. It is one of the most effective things that I have ever found. I teach it all the time in therapy. I've given this book to literally hundreds of people, and this MGI thing, we use it literally every day. And these really difficult moments of parenting where you need to use MGI, it fosters that type of a relationship, and it'll make parenting better down the line.